Hello and welcome to Asia Society. My name is Michelle Yun and I'm Vice President for Global Artistic Programs and Director of the Asia Society Museum. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual Diwali Family Day celebration, because being at home isn't going to stop us from celebrating together. And although we aren't able to be together at Asia Society this year, we hope this virtual event will be an opportunity to welcome new audiences and to reconnect with old friends from all over the globe. We're so excited and grateful to have some of our favorite artists joining us this year to celebrate. And for those of you who are not familiar, Diwali is the Festival of Lights, the most awaited and most celebrated festivals of India. People throughout the world, both in India and in the Indian diaspora, welcome the festival with great joy and excitement. The festival is celebrated over 5 days and includes the lighting of diyas, candles, firecrackers, and worshiping of Ganesha, who's the elephant-headed god, to summon health and prosperity for the whole year ahead. So, for today's program, we'll first have choreographer and storyteller Preeti Vasudevan, who will take you on a magical journey of lights to a faraway ancient land called India. Join her how to learn how to freeze dance with your face, watch a story about a young girl and her new friends, and to meet other exciting artists as they lead you through this dance journey of ancient and modern stories of lighting people's lives with love and light. Then Samir Gupta from Raga Kids will bring music to the celebration of Diwali alive through his rhythm and songs. And then finally, Parul Shah will teach us the language of Abhinaya, the movement vocabulary of Indian dance. And Parul will share how to create stories through dance to bring the story of Diwali alive. You're going to meet Ganesh, the beloved elephant-headed god who has a special place in the hearts of all celebrating Diwali. If you can't stay to join us for all of these fun activities today, many of the videos will be available to stream on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to share these videos with your friends and family. I'm also excited to share that our building is open, and I welcome you to visit our current exhibition, Rebel Jester Mystic Poet, Contemporary Persians from the Mohammed Afkhami Collection. The museum is open to the public Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and I welcome you to visit our website to make your time ticket reservations. Now, for all of our members who are joining us today, I just want to thank you for your steadfast support of our work, especially now. Your generosity nourishes our resolve to persevere despite these challenging times. And for those of you who are new to Asia Society, I encourage you to get involved. Membership details may be found on our website, and we look forward to welcoming you to Asia Society again soon. So, thank you so much again for joining us virtually this year. I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope you enjoy the program. Happy Diwali, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. That was great. And I love Diwali and I love dance. So two of my very favorite things come together. And I am so honored to have Preeti Vasudevan here today to help us learn some storytelling in some different ways, whether it's through our face or through our gestures. But this is Preeti's story to tell. So over to you, Preeti.
வணக்கம் எல்லாருக்கும் இந்தியாவிலிருந்து வணக்கம் தீபாவளிக்கு வாழ்த்துக்கள் உங்களுக்கு. Hello everybody, welcome from India and happy Diwali and happy Deepavali to all of you. My name is Preeti Vasudevan and I am a storyteller who dances, acts, I use my voice and my whole body to tell you stories from a long time ago and from the present time. Stories about you, stories by you, but also stories from your grandparents, great-grandparents, written in books from faraway lands and a long, long time ago, from faraway time. So I'm going to bring Diwali to you from India, where I am currently visiting my parents. I live in New York with my family. My daughter and my husband are still in New York, and I think they have their jackets on, like many of you. But in India now, I have the AC on, the air conditioning on, because it's so hot. It's a tropical country. The leaves outside are green and lush, and it's my favorite season, the monsoons, the rain that comes down. If you do this with my hands, with your own hands, just follow what I'm doing, just shaking your fingers up and down and follow them. That's how the rain falls in sheets of water over the leaves. In India, in southern India, where I come from, it's always 90 degrees here. So it's a bit like Florida, I think, to enjoy yourself by the beach. But Diwali is a festival of lights, and diya means lamp. So this is how you hold the lamp with your hands. You close your hands like this and you open it up like this and then break open the hands, and there you go. You've got little lamps over here. And the festival of lights is the diyas, where you show the lights everywhere, and it lights up not just your house, but people's hearts and lives. It's a very, very important festival in India for all of us. All over India, north, south, east, west, we all celebrate Diwali. In the south, we call it Deepavali. We say Deepam for the same lamp that in the north they say Diya. We're all very different kinds of people in India. We look quite different. We eat different things. But this festival really brings us all together to celebrate light in our lives and light that we can give to everybody else out there. And you know, it's a very special year because I haven't seen my parents in over 2 years. So I thought I should come here and see them and celebrate Diwali here in India with them. And therefore, I'm sharing my Diwali with you from faraway India. Now, as a child, now many of you are children. I like to think I'm still a child because I love stories. And who wouldn't like a story? Now, have you heard stories from your parents? Or maybe that aunt next door? Or maybe that grandfather right over there on that side? Now, they all tell you different stories, don't they? And then we ask the questions. What happened next? Who was that? Why did she do that? When did that happen? All the different questions that makes us connect to people and places and makes us understand ourselves better. Now, in Diwali, we just don't have one story. We have many stories. We have favorite stories, and we also have favorite characters. So I'm going to take you back in time, far away, to one of the most favorite stories and famous stories from India that traveled from India to Southeast Asia, to Indonesia, to Bali, to Sri Lanka. And the characters changed, and they have different dance forms over there based on this one story that took place a long time ago. This is a story about a prince called Rama, and that's how we show him. This is his bow and his arrow. And he married a beautiful woman called Sita, and we show her this way. And he had a brother called Lakshmana. We show the younger brother this way. Now, long story short, he was exiled, banished from his kingdom for 14 years. And he had to travel all the way to the south of India from the north through the thick jungles. And then one day, the king of Sri Lanka, who had 10 heads, kidnapped his beautiful wife Sita and took her to the faraway island kingdom of Sri Lanka. What did Rama do? Oh, he was so sad. But he didn't give up hope. He had friends around him. He formed an army, an unusual army of monkeys. And try to do this with me. Try to hold your hands down like this and bring your lips together and puff it up like how I'm doing to form the monkey. And that's how we show monkey in my dance form. And immediately when I do that, you know I'm the monkey. But if I do this, you know I'm Prince Rama. If I do this, I'm his wife Sita. So you see, we have little codes or symbols and gestures to show you which characters which and what do they do. So anyway, this kingdom, this whole army of monkeys helped Rama build a bridge, cross over to Sri Lanka, fight the king. He was defeated, he was killed, and then Rama brought Sita, his wife, back to India. And as they started going back to their kingdom to the north of India, the news reached everyone around them. And because they were so happy, they lit the way for this couple all the way from the south to the north with diyas or lamps, which also meant that their hearts were open with joy and they were celebrating his victory of this war and to bring his dear wife back. So this story of Rama and Sita is a very famous one in India. And there are many, many festivals built around this, especially around this time. Two other stories are there. I will tell them in a very short manner to you. This is about the naughty little god called Krishna. Well, he's a boy, really, who grew into this young man. He was very naughty. He always loved to play the flute. And all the lovely milkmaids fell in love with him because he was so handsome. And when he plays flute, they would completely fall in love with him and go dizzy looking at him. Now, he was also very brave. And there was an evil creature, let's call him a creature, who came and kidnapped about 1,600 women and took them away. So Krishna put his flute into his little waistband and off he went to fight Narakasura, the demon mischievous spirit. And he killed him and he rescued the women and took them back to safety. So in parts of India, we celebrate Diwali because Krishna defeated Narakasura and all the women were free. And so everybody lit their lamps and celebrated Krishna. Then there is the beautiful goddess Devi. And part of Devi, from her forehead emerged a very powerful goddess called Kali. And she was born out of the forehead to kill all the wrong and evil things around us in the world. So to celebrate her, people also light lamps. So you see, it's really about celebration and happiness. It's to tell people we need to have hope and be happy. And remember, I told you that I come from a very warm country where we eat a lot of food with our family on this day. We take the blessings of our elders and we wear summer clothes all the time. But I have a question for you. What would happen if you had to leave a very warm country and go far away to a cold country and live over there? And when Diwali came, what would you do? Well, I'm going to introduce you to a young girl. Her name is Geeta, and she comes from India. Her parents decided to move to a faraway country in North America. I won't tell you which city, but just imagine it's in the north part of North America. And she went over there, and during Diwali, she had to discover new things for herself that wasn't available for her as she had in India. So before I show you the story, I want you to look out for a few things. I want you to look out for how many characters are there in the story. Because the story just can't have one character. Well, sometimes it can, but most of the time, we love other characters to come and create some mischief or create some love or create some laughter or anger, different emotions that make us. So look out for how many characters there are. Then I would like you to just imagine how far away did she actually travel? I've already given you a clue. So now when you see the story, really think about, did you really travel that far away? And how far is far? And the third thing is, Towards the end of the story, Geeta, our main actor, this young girl, realizes something. She discovers something about Diwali and her new home. And I'd love you to see and think about and find out what could that be. So, this is a story I created for the camera. It's called Lights for Geeta, and I would love you to watch it. And when you finish it, I'll be right there. I'll come back to you and we'll have some fun.
Geeta pulled her hat down over her ears as she stepped off the school bus. Diwali, she whispered. Today is really and truly Diwali. But nothing in the November gloom seemed like Diwali. Today, New Delhi would be glowing with celebration. All her aunts, uncles, and cousins would be together at her grandparents' house. They'd be laughing, talking, and exchanging sweets with friends and neighbors. In the evening, they'd light diyas to honor the goddess Lakshmi, who brought prosperity and happiness. And then, fireworks. The whole city would be brilliant with fireworks. Geeta looked anxiously at the dark clouds. Please, please don't rain. Papa had said, I'll be home early with fireworks for our first Diwali in our new home. It wouldn't be like Diwali at her grandparents'. Still, Mummy had made their favorite sweets, golden peras, spiral jalebis. And she'd let Geeta invite 5 school friends to help celebrate. Geeta had wanted to invite her whole class, but you had to be quiet in an apartment. Not outside though. Fireworks, lots of them. That's what Diwali was all about, the festival of lights. Geeta glared at the grey sky before racing up the creaky stairs to their apartment. She flung her arms around her mother. Papa was home early, just as he'd promised. Did you get the fireworks, Papa? Yes, I got them, he said slowly. But Geeta, Diwali isn't just fireworks. There's... Show me, Papa. Where are they? Gently, Papa turned Geeta towards the window. A large drop splashed against the glass. Then another and another. It won't last long, said Geeta, her voice wobbly. The forecast says freezing rain tonight, said Papa. Never mind. We'll have the fireworks tomorrow. But I promised my friends. We'll turn on all the lights, said Mummy, and light the diyas. You and your friends will have a lovely party. Geeta blinked back her tears. Come, said her mother. Change into your new dress. Then we'll light the diyas. Geeta and her mother set the little clay pots along the windowsills and around the room. Needles of ice stung the windows. Freezing rain on Diwali. How could such a place ever be home? Last year, Diwali had been warm and joyful. She and her cousins had startled everyone with noisy crackers called Little Rascals. They'd whispered in the prayer room as the incense smoke curled upwards and the grown-ups chanted. Grandmother had told them stories of Prince Ram and his wife Sita and of their homecoming on Diwali. And in the evening, cones spouted fountains of fire, Catherine wheels whirled, and hissing rockets burst into dazzling showers of colour. A sudden gust rattled the window. Geeta stuck out her tongue. You can't get in, and you won't spoil my party. She gave a hard twist to the wisps of cotton wick. Mummy, bangles tinkling, filled the diyas with mustard oil. As she finished, the phone rang. Geeta heard the murmur of her mother's voice, the click of the receiver, and then more ringing. She shook the box of matches impatiently as her mother came back. "Can I light the first one?" Mummy just smiled and smoothed Geeta's hair. That was Jenny and Helga. "It's too icy to drive. They can't come." The phone rang again. Geeta ran to her room. She burrowed into bed and jerked the covers over her head. "I hate this place," she sobbed. Mummy lifted back the covers and gently hugged Geeta. Amy hasn't called, and she does live nearby. Geeta pulled away and blew her nose. "Geeta," said Mummy softly, "Diwali is really about filling the darkness with light. Fireworks can't do it for us. We must do it ourselves." Mummy's smile was bright, but also sad, like grandmother's smile when they'd said goodbye. For a long moment, Geeta sat still. Then she managed a watery smile. "Let's light the diyas." One by one, golden flames quivered and sprang to life. The warm fragrance of mustard oil filled the room. Just as Geeta lit the last wick, the electric lights flickered, on, off, on again. Then all the lights, in the apartment, in all the houses, even the street lamps, died. Darkness on Diwali. Geeta's throat tightened. Then she began to laugh. In the sudden rush of darkness, their diyas glowed, bright, brighter, brightest, filling the living room with light. "We beat the darkness! We beat the darkness!" Geeta clapped her hands. "Lakshmi will come for sure. We'll have wonderful luck," said Mummy. Geeta ran to the window. The diya's reflection made it seem as if there were another shining room outside. She sang softly. Drops of freezing rain glittered as they flew past. Slowly, the headlights of a car came down the street and stopped in front of their building. "It's Amy!" shouted Geeta. Papa started downstairs with a flashlight. Geeta ran ahead in the bouncing circle of light. She opened the front door. "Careful, it's icy," called Papa. Geeta took a few cautious steps. She stopped, eyes wide. The whole world glistened. The sidewalks, every branch, every twig, the lamppost, even the blades of grass. In the dark city, only their windows blazed with the steady glow of diyas. The ice, reflecting their light, sparkled and danced like fireworks. Amy's voice brought her back. "Geeta, tomorrow we can go sliding. It'll be like flying." Geeta's eyes shone. She'd have to write her grandparents about this Diwali in her new home. "Hey, Amy, let's play hide and seek while the power's still out." She took one last look at the light singing in the heart of the ice. "Come on," she shouted. "Race you upstairs."
So, we've seen the story about Geeta, and I wonder if now you know how many characters there might be there. And what did she learn at the end? Did she actually end up liking her new home, which had freezing rain instead of warm weather? And that is the whole point of the story, how we can turn something that we think is going to make us sad into something that's going to make us really happy. The light inside that's going to shine outside. And really, that's what Diwali is all about, to make us all bring out a big smile from our hearts and pass it on to others and to learn about others and ourselves. Now, this whole story, you just saw me, but the story just wasn't done by me. There are lots of people who go about creating a story like this. Well, there's me, the actor that you see, and then you hear a voice, the narrator's voice, who takes on the different characters' roles and changes the texture of the voice. But you heard something really beautiful, music, the sound. You might have heard the piano, maybe. Beautiful piano playing, giving you the feel of Diwali, the excitement of Gita. All of those moments that you heard me saw were brought together by this lovely music that was composed by a wonderful musician called Charu Suri. And I would love for you to meet Charu and for her to tell you what went through her mind when she created the music for this story. So why don't we meet Charu and listen to what she says, and then I'll come back and talk to you a little more.
Hi, my name is Charu Suri, and I'm a jazz pianist and composer originally from South India. And I was very honored to compose the music for Lights for Gita, which Preeti Vasudevan requested. And it was a wonderful process. The story was fantastic. And I wanted to explain a little bit about how the music came about. So when I read the story, when Preeti first gave me the story, I was overjoyed because it's complex and yet simple. So there's many facets of the story. There's happiness, there's joy, there's sadness. And there's also that beautiful description about Diwali and what Diwali means and the firecrackers. And what struck me was how many moods this piece had. So I decided to use an Indian raga. I've composed albums fusing Indian ragas and a jazz trio, so which is fairly new. So I used an Indian raga, Sankarabaranam, which is morning raga, very energetic and uplifting. And I used it as the basis to show the happiness, the uplifting part of darkness being defeated. And then when the mood switches to sad, when Gita is unsure of how she's going to celebrate Diwali because of all the rain and her friend's not able to attend, then it goes to minor. So I invited my vibraphone player and my drummer Jesse Gerbasi, who collaborated with me on a raga album, to do the vibes, to provide the contrast and the context of the darkness and light. So with the piano, I used that motif of Sankarabaranam always being the happier parts. And then I switched to minor during the sad moments, especially when the droplets occurred and when Preeti's hand motion happened. That was when I wanted to signal in music the intensity of the water coming down and dampening Gita's plans for Diwali. But at the end of the day, it's all about optimism. So I hope you enjoy it and enjoy the contrast and such a beautiful story, and happy Diwali.
So that was Charu, and Charu plays wonderful piano, as you heard, and there are two other instruments that she mentioned too. And if you're in New York, you can hear her at Carnegie Hall on November 13th. So she's a very dear friend now. She's a collaborator, a composer, and a mother of a child almost the same age as my child. We all have children. So it's a lot of fun doing this. There's another collaborator, and I don't know if you remember, but when the story started, you saw this beautiful piece of artwork, a beautiful drawing with this abstract face of a girl with lights all around her. Now, that's been created by a visual artist who is Indian, but he actually lives in Spain, all the way in Europe. So I had to call him and I said, his name is Harsha. And I said, Harsha, can you think about the story? And how would you like to tell the story? I'd love to see your drawing. And I'd love for my story to be opened by your artwork. So he created an artwork, and you will see him in the video in this apartment in Spain as he's walking towards you and talking about his art. And I'd like you to imagine, if you were an artist, what colors would you use? How would you create the shapes of Gita's face and the lamps all around her for Diwali? So meet Harsha, and then I will come back to you.
Hi, I'm Harsha. I'm an artist currently living in Barcelona. The idea with this work was to take inspiration from the original story, but I wanted to add a more contemporary feel to it. I imagine this family having moved out of India as recently as last year and are now celebrating their first Diwali out of town. Anyone who's ever lived abroad knows that Diwali is never the same outside. So I wanted to focus on that feeling of sadness that Geeta shows when she's looking out the window. One of the things that I really like about this image is Geeta's sweater. It's a sweater of a jalebi, which in the story actually is her favorite sweet. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.
Now Harsha basically told you about the emotion. He chose an emotion. So this brings me to some fun activities with you. I think you saw a lot of different expressions in the story. And then the composer Charu Suri talked about a tune that she used, a raga, which is a melody from India. And she had a very complicated name for it. But really, if you heard music and if you heard the song Do Re Mi, it's really those same notes. So if you sing Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti, the melody, the scale of that is exactly what she was talking about. So really, the East-West, we kind of sing some of the same songs too, and the same tunes. They're happy tunes. And so she chose a happy tune for that. So with me, I thought, what fun could we have with our faces? We can do different emotions, but I'm going to try and do a little game with you. I call it the freeze downs for the face. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to move the eyebrows 3 times and hold it up for 2 seconds. Can you try this with me? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Should we try again? Let's try to move the eyebrows as fast as you can. And when I say hold or when I say freeze, you should just freeze exactly when I tell you that. And let's begin. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Now I'm going to take you from that happy moment to maybe an angry moment. Many of us get angry for small things, don't we? So what do? Do we raise our eyebrows and do we give a smile when we're angry? I don't think so. So let's do the opposite. Can you bring your eyebrows together like this, as if they're going to touch each other, right up there? And then you're going to bring your lips together like this. And you're going to give me a little staring look for 3 seconds. Let's go. Here you go. Can we go again to the angry look? 3, 2, 1, go. Now here's the challenge. We're going to go from happy, where we raise our eyebrows a few times and stop, to angry, when we bring all our features right into the center and we hold it still for 3 seconds. Are you ready? All right, let's go to the happy one. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Change to anger. Now that was fun, wasn't it? But what if I add one more? Would that complicate things for you? Can we be sad? Did your mother not give you the cookie you wanted? Or the sweet? Or maybe a favorite toy? And you get very sad, maybe? That's how Geeta felt during Diwali when she saw the rain outside and she thought about India and the warm weather. So she was very sad. So let's try sad on our faces. So let's try to see if we can just drop our eyebrows down like this. And we're going to drop our lips down like this. And we're going to look straight to the camera and then we're going to look down for 2 seconds like this. Now I'm feeling sad doing that. I don't want to keep it for too long. So let's try it again. And we're going to go eyebrows down, lips down, look down. Now, can we go from happy to angry to sad? And this is how we do theater. We train our faces in all different kinds of ways so we can show characters and we can switch so quickly to become different characters. Let's try happy, angry, and then sad. You ready? Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Freeze. Now angry. Now sad. I hope you remember these, and I hope you can teach them to your friends too. Happy, angry, sad, three very important emotions that we can play with. So this brings me to another video I want to share with you, which is about different characters. What if you were an older person? Or what if you were really younger? How do you show different characters from different generations? Shall we watch?
In this video, I am trying to show you how, as a storyteller, I'm able to show two different age groups as a single actor. This is between Geeta and her mother. Now, as a child, I'm trying to show Geeta with very extremes in her reactions, from wonderment to anger, as you would have seen in the previous video. But with the mother, I show her as being calmer, more subtle, with slower movements, more specifically detailed as she goes to hold Geeta in her hands, showing compassion, which in Indian dance is an emotional state called karunyam. You will see that when she goes and lifts Geeta's bed cover that Geeta has covered earlier because of anger that her friends cannot come to visit her, her mother lifts the cover gently and slowly and smiles at her to show a very motherly affection, a love from mother to child. Whereas Geeta shows Raudram, the emotional state of anger, that she's very disappointed and she hates the day. So the same actor can be two different people, almost simultaneously switching from one to the other.
So you see, there was the young girl, Geeta, who we know now, and her mother, how to show different expressions. But what do we do about a child? How do we become a child? Does a child take things very slowly a lot of times or very quickly? Do you get excited many times? Do you turn your head very fast? Or do you think for a long time? Shall we see what a child does and how we can show a child in different ways in this coming video?
In this video, you will see the way I represent a child in the story, the story of Geeta and the festival of Diwali. For a child, the expressions, the emotions are very sudden, they change rapidly. So for Geeta, her excitement and amazement of the celebration of lights in Diwali shows her wonderment and amazement, which in Indian dance is the emotional state called Adbhutam. Now, you will see her using the gestures called Samdamsham, which is open and close, this gesture, to show how beautiful and how glowing and sparkling Diwali is, filled with fireworks and lights everywhere. You will see me performing that, being open-chested, smiling, and the face really having open features. And soon after, you will see Geeta getting very angry because she does not like the freezing rain outside her window in this North American city that her parents have moved to, away from the warmth of the tropics. So I bring my body close together, my expressions coming more towards the center as I show the expression, the emotional state in Indian dance called Raudram, where she looks holding her fists together at the angry rain. And she also uses the gesture Suchi to admonish the rain. And here I use his finger to point at the window, telling the rain to go away. Now Geeta is a child. And as a child, she changes her mind very, very quickly. So in another part of the story, she looks at the rain very differently. Now that she has lit the lamps and the raindrops are sparkling with the lights, she looks at them with wonderment, again Adbhutam, and here the rain I show with the gesture Hamsasyam falling diagonally, and here I shake them and open and close them to show how the raindrops fall, and I also blink my eyes to show the sparkliness of the rain that Geeta looks at with amazement.
Great. So now you're experts with these expressions. So when you saw my video now, of course you knew how to be angry, how to have wonder, how to be happy. But I want to show you a couple of things. And then I want to talk about the rest of the world and how we celebrate with lights. So let's do this. Can you flutter your eyes really quickly? Blink them just like it rains. Blink, 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 blink. How fast can you blink your eyes? Really fast. And that's how all the lights were sparkling for Geeta. And now stop blinking them. And now you're going to look at lights from side to side without blinking. Let's try that, shall we? So we're going to look right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Now look at me. How many of you blinked? Did you not blink or did you blink? So we have different ways of working with the eyes, blinking really fast and not blinking as we looked side to side. And that way we can use our eyes to tell lots of different stories, not just our hands, but our eyebrows, our eyes, our necks, our fingers. They all become little storytelling magical moments. And then we put them all together to make ourselves this wonderful storyteller. You can be the next storyteller. What story would you tell others? With that, I want to ask you, each of you, where you come from, do you celebrate with lights? What kind of lights do you use? In India, we have Diwali with diya or the lamp. I know another festival that's coming up in December, maybe 2, maybe 3, that use lights. I think one is called Christmas. Maybe one is called Hanukkah. Or actually far away in China, they light lanterns. It's called the Lantern Festival. And I'm sure there are many more, and you can tell me more because I would love to know in what ways do you light lamps and in what ways do you send messages of light and hope to everybody in the world. And it's so important now that we pass on our love to everybody and light the lamps and share it with people who are much older, much younger, with animals, plants, with Mother Nature, and do have all those sweets for the Diwali because they're so yummy. And if your parents say no, just tell them it's the festival of lights. It's called Diwali. We've got to light a few lamps and eat a few sweets and hug everyone and light up their lights and their lives. So I hope you had a great time with Lights for Geeta. With me, my name is Preeti Vasudevan, and enjoy yourselves. Happy Diwali.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm going to be telling stories all over New York. I'm trying to think about how, of course, we have jack-o'-lanterns too. Talking about lanterns and lights, Halloween is tomorrow. So the idea of light and hope and festivities and celebration are something that we share across the world. And I'm so delighted that you could share Diwali and get us to think about our faces as storytelling, in addition to the words that come through our bodies, through dance and the music, the beautiful music and animation. So thank you, Preeti. I know it's nighttime where you are in India, so I can see that it's about time to go to sleep and take the lights down. But we're really grateful. Thank you so much for sharing, and we look forward next year to all being together in the Asia Society to celebrate and to continue the Diwali spirit. And just to let all of you know who are watching, we're going to take a 15-minute break before Samir Gupta comes. So we've just been doing movement, but now we're going to look at rhythm and song, the music and the storytelling that comes through a different art form. So join us in 15 minutes. You can have your sweets. Don't tell your mom I said that. And Join us again in about 15 minutes when Samir Gupta will join us. And then at 3, we will have Parul Shah and again go back to dance. So Preeti, thank you again. And we will see all of you audience members after you've had your lemonade or other sweets in 15 minutes at 2 o'clock. Thanks. Hi, Samir.
Hi, Rachel. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. And we're so excited. I mean, you just gave us a little taste of this amazing sound. And I can't believe you just did that just with your hands. There were so many different sounds coming out of your drums. And I know you're going to help us understand this. We just had a wonderful moment with Preeti Vasudevan and using our face and telling stories. But now we're going to go to the musical side of the world and rhythm. And how can that really tell us and take us on a different kind of Diwali journey? So just to say that we're really honored to have the wonderful musician Samir Gupta. And of course, he is an Indian musician, he is an American musician, and he plays jazz in addition to the music from India. So he's got the world in his hands, literally. So take it away, Samir.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you to the Asia Society. Happy Diwali, everybody. It's a little bit early, but that's okay. It's a Diwali season. And I just want to say thank you very much for inviting us into your homes to share about Diwali. Diwali is a really important part of my growing up, and I remember it very, very vividly every year. And I wanted to share with you a couple of cool things in how the tabla connects to Diwali. And one of the big ways is that there's two gods that are sort of thanked and praised during Diwali. One is Lakshmi, and she is the goddess of good fortune. And the other one is Ganesh, or Ganesha. And some of you may know Ganesha. Ganesha has a very signature thing about them. They have an elephant head. And I wanted to show you a picture of Ganesha so you can kind of take a look and remember what Ganesha looks like. And this is a baby kind of depiction of Ganesha by a great illustrator named Sanjay Patel. Right? So that's Ganesha as a baby. And then we also have pictures of Ganesha that are a lot more kind of heavy, right? So this is Ganesha, right? And one of the things that Ganesha loved to do was play drums. And the tabla was one of his favorite drums. And I want to share with you a little bit about the language of the tabla, because one of the things Ganesha did was he wrote everything down. And so the tabla players also write a lot of their material down and a lot of their language. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of the language of the tabla. I'm going to show you how to clap and wave so that you can follow along in the cycle that I'm going to be playing. And I'm going to show you a specific composition that is supposed to sound like fireworks. All right, so we're going to try and make our way through all this. And at the end, I'm going to play for you, and hopefully you can tie it all together and have a great experience listening to this. All right, so first off, this is the tabla. This is the metal one. And this one can do a cool thing with the sound. Listen. Did you hear that? I bent the note. It was like, and then it went up. It's kind of like a scoop, right? Or like a question mark, like, right? And the reason why we can bend notes is because it's part of our voice. Our voice bends notes. And so it gives it a lot of personality and a lot of character to bend notes. And Indian classical music bends a lot of notes. It's all about bending the notes, okay? So I'm going to show you some of the words or the syllables that we have on this low drum. We go ga, ga. You can say it too, ga. And you can go ga 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 ga. Or you could go ga 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 ga. Right? You could go gen. Gen. Right? All of those low ringing sounds are ga, okay? And then if I slap it with my palm gently, more like patting it, that's ga with a K. Ga. Ka. It could also be cut, like cutting, cut. Okay? And those are really the main sounds on this drum. Ga, ka. On this drum, there's a lot of cool sounds. Listen. Right? This is called na. Na. It also can go ta. Okay? And we can also go di. Di. Okay? Then we do te-te. Those are all just with this hand. Te-te-te-te. Na-na-te-te. Na-na-di. Te-te-te-te na-na. Okay? So lots of combinations. And then I can put both my hands together. And that's a really important bowl. A bowl is a tabla word, okay? The bowl is dha. 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 Okay? And now try to do this. Say dha. Now say nadha. Nadha. And now you can say dinnada. Dinnada. Din-din-nada. Din-din-nada. Now, can you try and loop that and go din-din-nada? na da. Din din 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 na na. Watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1. Okay? That was a 16-beat cycle, right? It was really more like a circle or a cycle, like a bicycle, right? Because it just went over and over and over. It's like a wheel that keeps spinning, right? Like a circle, okay? So the circle is a really important shape here, right? Because it just goes and goes, it goes, it rolls. It can roll a little slower, it can roll a little faster, right? But when we get to the number 1, that's called the sum, okay? And that's a very, very important beat, okay? So let's try and listen for the sum, okay? Din din na da, din din na da. That's the shape, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Din din na na, din din na. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 5, 6, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1. Okay? So the 1 is super important. And in that circle, we do all kinds of fun stuff. We'll tell stories with our tabla. We'll come up with poetry. We'll show designs and rhythmic phrases. And they'll always end up on the 1. Right? The 1 is where everything ends on our phrases, but it's also where the circle starts. Okay? So the first beat is a very, very important beat, okay? Now, I want to share with you something about Diwali that's important. Ganesha, right? Remember Ganesha? Ganesha is someone that you say a little prayer to when you're going to start something new, okay? When we start something new, and we want to make sure that there's nothing in our way and it's easy for us to start something new, we say a little prayer to Ganesha and we ask for some good luck in that to make sure it's not too hard and we don't have too many obstacles in our way. That's why we give a prayer to Ganesha at the beginning of the year, right? It's for an auspicious new year, okay? Now, in a lot of ways, we begin new things all the time, right? Like even our day, when we wake up in the morning, it's like you're beginning something new, right? Your first day of school, you start something new. When you're starting a new job, right? If you buy a new, a new computer or a new car, those are big new things that you're doing. And so a lot of times they say a prayer to Ganesha so that there's no problems along the way, okay? I wanted to show you one way that I like to do something new. And I don't know if you recognize, Rachel, but I had more hair yesterday. And this morning, I decided to cut my hair really, really short. Because for me, that always means starting something new, right? I feel like I'm starting again and I'm starting fresh when I have my hair this short, and I really, really like it. So it always makes me feel like I'm ready to jump into something new, right? So starting something new is a big part of Diwali, and it's a big part of Ganesha, okay? So I want to start our tabla solo, okay? And I'm going to try and share with you some syllables along the way, okay? But I want you to just listen for a minute, okay? And let's try and follow the cycle, okay? It's going to be a 16-beat cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Can you do that? Clap. Clap. And now we're going to wave. Wave. Clap. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2. Good job. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1. Good job. That's That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1, 2, 3. So this is a very old composition, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say it first, okay? Here you go. Din din te 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 ge ge te te gadi gene taki te da ne da te te kata gadi gene da kata da te te kata gadi gene da kata da te te kata gadi gene da kata da. Now listen to me play it, okay? Din din te 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 ge ge te te gadi gene te te kata gadi gene da kata da te te kata gadi gene da kata da te te kata gadi gene da kata da din da da din da da din. Let's see if you remember where to clap, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I'll say it twice as fast, okay? Din, din, di, 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 di. Whew, gotta catch my breath. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Here we go. Din, din, di, 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 ge, ge, di, di, ga, di, gi, na, ta, ki, ti, da, ni, da, ti, ti, kata, ga, di, gi, na, da, kata, da, ti, ti, kata, ga, di, gi, na, da, kata, da, ti, ti, kata, ga, di, gi, na, da, kata, da. Okay, same composition, just twice as fast. Listen. Now I'm going to share another one. Da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, tu na ge na, da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, di na ge na. This is a very old composition also from a part of India called Delhi. Delhi is the capital of India, and this is an old composition. Let's say it twice as slow. Da, te, te, da, te, te, da, da, te, te, da, ge, tu, na, ke, na, da, te, te, da, te, te, da, da, te, te, da, ge, di, na, ge, na, da, te, te, da, te, te, da, da, te, te, da, ge. Now we'll say it twice as fast. Da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, tu na ge na, da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, di na, ge na. Da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, tu na ge na, da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, di na, ge na. Now this is a fun part about tabla. Now I get to make up variations off of that theme. Da te te, da te te, da da te te, da ge, tu na ge na, da te te, da te te. That's the theme, okay? Now I'll go. That was a variation. It goes like this. Da te te, 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 da. Then I played the theme. Da te te, 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 da te te. Now comes the challenging part, because normally when we do variations, we do a lot of variations. And we have to go twice as fast as this on the tabla. Okay, you don't have to go twice as fast. You leave it up to me, okay? This is the theme still. And then variations. So that was a theme and variations, right? And that is really a very like exercise in the brain. You do theme after variation after variation after variation, like you're telling a story, right? Now, here's another cool thing we can do on the tabla. This is called a rela, okay? And a rela is supposed to sound like a rush of water, right? But they also say it could sound like a railroad, like a train on the railroad track. Okay, so you tell me what you hear. It's kind of like a drum roll. Clapping. Try and do the clapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Datigina dinner, datigina dinner, datigina, datigina dinner, datigina dinner, datigina, datigina dinner, datigina dinner, datigina, datigina dinner, datigina dinner. Okay. Now I want to show you this composition with the fireworks, okay? But it's a little tricky, and I'm going to show you some sections of the composition, okay? I'm going to show you 4 sections. And each one of those little sections, the bowl is pretty easy, okay? And it's supposed to paint a little bit of a picture in your mind, okay? So the first part of the composition, when the first thing I play, I go dee-ka-dee-ka-din-da. Can you say that? Dee-ka-dee-ka-din-da. You could go dee-ka-dee-ka-din-da. Okay? And that's supposed to be like, hey, 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 come and sit. Right? Hey, 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 come on over. Right? Dee-ka-dee-ka-din-da. Right? And it goes dee-ka-dee-ka-din-da. Okay? Then the next part is to go Gitta-ka-gitta-ka-dinna. Gitta-ka-gitta-ka-dinna. Gitta-ka-gitta-ka. Right? And that's supposed to be like a match. Like you're lighting a match because you're gonna light this firework. Okay? Gitta-ka-gitta-ka. 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 Okay? So the first part is dee-ka-dee-ka-din. And then you go gitta-ka-gitta-ka-din. Okay? Then, if you've seen how fireworks go, they splutter and they go, and the sparks are flying off, right? So they go, taka 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 taka. Can you say that? Taka 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 taka. Taka 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 taka. You gotta go fast. Tak 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 tak. Tak 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 tak. Okay? Tak 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 tak. That's how that comes out on the drum. Okay, and that's supposed to sound kind of like the spluttering of the sparkles. And then it takes off. Gendaran kran gendada. Can you say gendada? Gendada. Okay? Those are supposed to be the little sparkles that trail off after it explodes, right? So it goes tak 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 gendaran kran gendada gendada gendada. Right? And that last da It's supposed to land on the sum, right? The first beat of the tinta, okay? All of those designs, all of those patterns, all that stuff happens inside the 16-beat cycle, okay? So let's review, okay? Let's make sure you remember all the parts of how the firework composition goes, okay? First, you call all your friends over. Dika dika din da. Dika dika din da. Come, sit down, okay? Then I will say, Dika dika din da ge naga dina dhage nata teka dina dhage teka dina gina gere naga dina gina dhage teka dina gina gatika gitaka. Gitaka, right? That's lighting the match. Gitaka. Then the dhagataka dunakena. Okay? So from the beginning, dika din da gegen naga din dhagena dataka din dhagataka dunakena, gerenaga din again and dhagataka dunakena, gitaka then dhagataka dunaga, tak. Tak. You try and say that. Tak. That's the part where it's going and it's about to go. Tak. Gentaran Gentada. Right? Those are the little trails at the end. Okay? Now we're going to play it a couple of times, right? But I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to it, okay? Because I can't just go right in there, okay? It's hard composition, okay? So it's going to take me a minute. So you remember the clapping? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, you know, that reminds me of one thing from India, and I just want to share these things because I remember Diwali and I remember my family in India, and I haven't seen them in such a long time. But there's one cool thing that my mom showed me, and it's how they count in India up to 16 beats on one hand. Can you imagine how they would do that? I'm going to show you, okay? Show me your palm. Hold out your palm like this, and you're going to use your thumb to touch the different parts of your finger. So touch the bottom of your pinky. Yeah, where your pinky meets your palm, the bottom of it. Yeah, that's 1. Then you count up the knuckles. 1, 2, 3, and the tip is 4. Okay? Then you go to the next finger, your ring finger, your third finger. 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Then we go to the middle finger, 9 at the bottom. 10, 11, 12. And the pointer finger, 13, 14, 15, 16. Then you go back to 1 at the bottom of your pinky, right? So remember we were talking about 16 beats in the cycle? That's the way that you can also count 16 beats, right? So when you want to count each beat on a special part of your finger, you can do it that way. And if you want to count the large cycle, you can do the clapping and the waving, right? And when I used to ask my mom math problems, she would figure out the math on one hand, just like that. So it's kind of a cool technique, okay? So try and remember that while we play this too. Okay, first let's count with our finger. Let's try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Good. धागे नाधा तिरकिट धाती धागे तू ना के ना ताती ताके नाधा तिरकिट धाती धागे दी नागे ना धाती धागे नाधा तिरकिट धाती धागे तू ना के ना ताती ताके नाता तिरकिट धाती धागे दी नागे ना. different parts of India have different kinds of sounds and different kinds of stories that they tell through the tabla, okay? And so my teachers have shown me different styles and compositions from where they come from. And then I have all those things in my story, right? So this last things that I was playing, they were from Delhi, okay? This next thing I'm gonna play is from Punjab, okay? And that's from North India. Da kre dhati dhage na dhati dhage tu na ke na ta kre dhati take na dhati dhage di na ge na. Da kre dhati dhage na dhati dhage tu na ke dhati dhage na dhati dhage di na ge na. Dati dage tu na ke na dina ke dati dage na dati dage tu na ke na ta ke dati dage na dati dage tu na ke na tina ke dati dage na dati dage tu na ke na. Show you another composition from a very, very famous tabla player. His name was Terakwa. Can you say Terakwa? Terakwa. Terakwa, they say his fingers danced on the tabla and it was like lightning was striking. So that's what Terakwa is supposed to be, okay? And he was really, really special because he was one of the first tabla players who made tabla really, really popular in its own thing, right? Today we hear so many great tabla players like Zakir Hussain and so many other ones that are just out there that are, people love to listen to tabla, right? And Amijan Terakwa was one of the first people who was able to really take it to the front of the stage. So he has some cool, beautiful compositions that I'm looking forward to sharing with you, okay? Dati da dati gina tuna ke na dati da credit da ke na te dati ke na tuna kirti dati di ke na da. And I'll say it half speed so you can just appreciate the bowl. Dati da dati ge na tuna ke na dati da credit da ge na te dati ge na tuna kit takati takata te kit takata te kit takata te kit dati di ge na. Dati di ge na. Almost ran out of breath on that one. Here's the double time, okay? Here we go. Dati da, dati ge na, tuna ke na, dati da. Credit da ge na te, dati ge na, tuna kirti, dati di ge na, dati di ge na, da. Dati da, dati ge na, tuna ke na, dati da. Credit da ge na te, dati ge na, tuna kirti, see if you can follow along with the clapping on that one. Now it's tricky, okay? Dati da, dati gena, tuna gena, dati da, credit, da gena, dati gena, tuna kirti, kirtada, dati gena, da, din, da, din, da, da. I'll say it one more time. Dati gena, tuna gena, dati da, credit, da gena, dati gena, tuna kirti, kirtada, dati gena, da. Good. So I can use that same composition and come up with something of my own. Okay? So I'm going to use those same phrases and think of my own composition. Okay? Here it goes. Dati da, dati gena, tuna gena, dati da, credit, dati gena, dati gena, tuna landing in the 16 beats. Now I'm just gonna play a little so you can appreciate the sound. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, one last thing before we go to the firework, okay? Everything I've been doing is broken up into 4 beats per beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. But you can do 3 beats per beat, and 3, as many of you know, is a magic number, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Try and see if you can say that with me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Din nagina da, dagina dati gigi taka dinna dinna gina dagite gigi dinna dagina dati gigi taka dinna dinna gina dinna dagina da, dagina dati gigi. Dagina dati gigi taka dinna in a triplet feel, also called Tisra Jati. Tabla is a very big language, lots and lots and lots and lots of parts. So I live in Brooklyn. If you have questions, reach out to me. But I'm going to play this one final fireworks composition. Okay? So let's do a quick review of the things I asked you to remember. Dika dika dinda. That means come everyone, right? Dika dika dinda. Gege nagadina. Dagina datakadina. Dagitakadinagina. Gere nagadinagina. Dagitakadinagina. Gitakadina. Gitakadina. Right? Listen for that one. That's the match that you're lighting. Gitakadina. Dagitakadinagina. Tak 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 tak. Tak 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 tak. Right? That's the firework about to take off. Tak 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 tak. Gendaran dagitakadinagina. Kran. Gentada. Gentada. That's the three little trailing trails, okay? Dika dika dinda. That's the first part. Dika dika dinda. And then Gitaka gitaka dinda. Right? That's lighting the match. Tak 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 tak. That's the firework going. Gendaran dagitakadinagina. Kran. Gentada. 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 Okay? I'm going to try and say it slow. Dika-dika-din-da. Gigi-nagi-dina-dagi-na. Dagi-dika-dina-dagi-dika-dina-gina. Giri-nagi-dina-gina. Dagi-dika-dina-gina. Gitiki-gitaka-dina. Dagi-dika-dina-gina. Taka-taka-taka-taka-taka-taka-taka-gintarana. Dagi-taka-taka-taka-taka. I'll do it a couple of times, see if you can catch. Dika dika din da gigi naga dina dagina dataka dina dagataka dina gina gere naga dina gina dagataka dina gina gitaka gitaka dina dagataka duna gina tak 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 gendara dagataka dagataka dina da kran genda da. Right? So remember to keep track of the tala, the cycle. Ready? Dika dika din da gigi naga dina dagina dataka dina dagataka duna gina gere naga dina gina dagataka duna gina gitaka gitaka dina dagataka duna gina tak 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 gendara dagataka dagataka dina da kran genda da. Try and say those things when you hear that if you can. Ready? Dika dika din da. That's where we're gonna start. Try and get that, okay? Right from the one, right from the sum, okay? 1, 2, here we go. Dika dika din da. 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 I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much. Happy Diwali to all of you. And remember, Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, is the god who removes obstacles when you start new things. And so he's a very, very important figure on Diwali. And he also happens to love the drums, okay? And there's a lot of pictures you can see of Ganesha playing the tabla or the mridangam, which is the South Indian percussion instrument. So Ganesha's my favorite because he's a drummer.
Amir, thank you so much. Do you have a minute? Can I ask you a couple questions?
Absolutely, please.
I'm so excited about this, but I wondered, it looks so complicated. And there's so much going on all in your fingers. Sometimes it seems unbelievable. But maybe you could tell us, especially all of us who are young at heart or young in age, how did you start?
That's a great question. Well, like you said, I'm American. I was born here. I was born in the US. I was born in California. I lived in New York, and I lived in the Bay Area, and I lived in Rochester, Minnesota, and a lot of parts of the country. And I grew up with concert band in high school and learning marching band and getting into jazz band. And I moved to New York as a jazz musician. And I love the jazz drummers of history like Elvin Jones and Tony Williams and Jack DeJohnette and Papa Joe Jones and all of those drummers. They really, really spoke to me. And then later in life, in my 20s, I got interested in tabla. But as you said, it looked very complicated and it looked very challenging. But I had dedicated so much of my life to music, and I really was drawn to it in a very real way. And so I took the plunge and I started practicing it. I found a teacher, local teachers that I really liked. And I've always just kind of tried to find local and very down to earth teachers who just want to share the music. And it's very easy to get sucked into how intimidating some kinds of music are, but music is for everybody. And for tabla, as challenging as it is, it feels great to make the little bit of progress that you make at something really difficult. And it's great for my brain. It always makes me think of new things, and I learn about the language a lot. I like language. I like word games. I like riddles and puzzles, and this instrument, I think, piques a lot of my interests. And so I just spent the time with it, and there was like long stretches of time where I would practice for hours a day. And I wasn't able to do the 10 hours that you hear in folklore around this instrument in Indian classical music, just because this is the reality of the world we live in. But yeah, I put in the time, and I really prioritized it. I practiced in the morning, I practiced in the evening and in the afternoon when I could. And I just, I learned to love the thing that was really, really difficult to do. And that's what I stuck with this instrument.
I mean, one of the things that's so exciting to me is that, in fact, the tabla has been a part of American music in one way or another for a very long time. And I've been reading a lot about jazz and even hip hop and artists who learn from this kind of understanding of rhythm. So the understanding that it is indeed originally from India, but that it has a very real and deep root in America. So our American music includes the tabla.
Definitely. I mean, I think that America, like, it's a melting pot, right? So even if you look at the Beatles, right, they got so into Indian music. George Harrison, of course, was a big way in, but that they brought the tabla into there. They brought the sitar into their albums, and even all kinds of European Western music, especially rock and jazz and non-European classical forms. Have really opened their doors to Indian classical sounds. You hear it in Rolling Stone songs and Led Zeppelin songs, Pink Floyd songs. So many songs draw influences from India. And it comes from, when it comes from a really genuine place with a place of real respect, it ends up translating beautifully. And I think that always is like my favorite music to listen to. Yeah.
So one last question, which is, so many kids listen to rap or different sounds that use rhythm through the voice. And you gave us some really wonderful examples that helped us understand that the rhythms in the drum can also be vocalized. And vocal music is something that's available to all of us, or most of us. So I'm just wondering, before we sign off, if you could give us one last tutorial, little teaching about with that vocalization so that we can try it out.
Definitely. I would say that the funnest thing, the thing I show my kids, is to do the groove of Teen Tal, right? Which basically started with saying dha. So say dha, and then say Nadha,
Nada.
Nadha, and then din nada, din nada, and then add one more din. Din din nada. Din din nada. Right? And so if you can loop that, and that last da is actually the one. So din din nada, din din nada, din din nada, din din nada, din din nada. Right? This is just walking down the road, right? Din din nada, 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 din din na. I'm walking down the street in Brooklyn. Da din din na da din din na da. Right. So really, like you're saying, Rachel, language, and you have to get into the flow of how your voice can also be a drum. Right. It can also be a percussive and a rhythmic instrument. And so much of Indian classical music and Indian classical dance, even what you're going to see next, there's a lot of vocalizing and there's a lot of connection between the tabla and the dance forms in India. Not just tabla, but drums and dance forms in India. It's also very regional, but I'm excited to have you all hear Parul now explore some dance with you.
Yes. So, and of course, the dance form that she does really uses rhythm very much, as well as storytelling. I mean, tabla also has storytelling, as you've so brilliantly shown us with the fireworks. So I'm thinking that, Diwali and the marathon means that here in New York, we're going to be seeing fireworks. So I hope that all the kids will now remember what they should say. Can you tell us one more time before we sign off?
For
the fireworks.
Oh, okay.
So remember what we should say when we see a fireworks.
Yeah. One was Deeker Deeker Dinda. Deeker Deeker Dinda. It's like, come on, Deeker Deeker Dinda. Then Gitta Dinna. That's the light the match. And then tak 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 tak. Tak 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 tak. Gentaran da. Gran Gendada. 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 Okay, here I'm gonna play.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
And I look forward to seeing you. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali to you, and happy Diwali to all our friends. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to let everyone know, Parul Shah will be on in about 7 minutes, and we will bring it all together. So hold on, get your sweets. I don't know, maybe your candle, maybe not, but definitely Diwali Day will end for us here at Asia Society as a preparation for your real Diwali in just 7 minutes. So thank you. Welcome back. So we have been celebrating Diwali today, the Festival of Lights, and whether it's through Bharatnatyam or a dance form that you saw in the very beginning through the work of Preeti Vasudevan, which is from South India, or Samir Chatterjee's wonderful presentation about rhythm and understanding how rhythm of the tabla can in fact tell stories and help us with our math. And now we're going to have Parul Shah, who has come from the Kathak dance tradition. And Kathak is a really interesting dance form from North India. And she'll tell us a little bit more about it, both its storytelling and its rhythm. Over to you, Parul.
Hi, Rachel. Namaste, everyone. Very happy Diwali. It is such a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me, Rachel. Before we go further, I wanted to introduce to you some of my students. Indu, yeah, can speak to the camera.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Navya Gupta. Hi, I'm Tony Agarwal.
So they're going to help us celebrate Diwali. We're going to go on a journey of movement exploration, some traditional, some kind of more creative, but all in the efforts of understanding Diwali and also understanding Indian classical dance and some of the elements that we see in Indian classical dance. So as you probably witnessed with Preeti's presentation in the South Indian classical dance form, lots of very specific hand gestures. These are called mudras. She might have talked to you, and each mudra has a specific meaning. In Kathak, it's slightly different. Kathak comes from the northern parts of India, as Rachel mentioned, and it comes from that word katha, which in Sanskrit means to tell a story. So all Indian classical dance has the base of telling stories based on Hindu mythology. And Diwali is a festival that is probably one of the most popular festivals, not just in India, but in the diaspora. And it is celebrated not just by Hindus, but by Sikhs, by Jains, and also by some Buddhists. So it is something that is very alive, it's very colorful, the celebration, and it's also known as the Festival of Lights. It is known as a Festival of Lights. And so we're going to touch upon a little bit about why it's called this Festival of Lights, but going back to Kathak and a little bit to tie in what Samir was doing and a little bit about Kathak. So Kathak and the tabla are like this. So even when I do a small dance, I want you to listen to the music because you will hear the drums, and the drums are of the North Indian instrument, tabla. So all of the Kathak dancers are also trained as musicians. We can speak all of our bowls, or what we call beats, our compositions, and then we play them out with our feet. So as you can see, I'm wearing with my feet. What did I do? What was I doing with my feet?
She was doing tatkar, which is using our feet to make music.
Exactly. So she gave you an explanation of a Kathak dancer when she told me specifically what we're doing. We were doing a 16-beat rhythm, which is it's the basis of Kathak, but we're creating music. And we have lots and lots of complex rhythms, just like the tabla. So the rhythms are coming from the tabla. And I think Samir was speaking some of them. So we have thousands of compositions. Like I can speak one for you very quickly. I won't speak the whole thing, but So I didn't speak the whole thing, but as you can see, there are lots of different intricate kinds of beats that we put together in a composition. And as Rachel also said, that it really helps your math skills. In Kathak, it's the same thing. So math is definitely not my forte. And I think it has really helped me build my math skills because everything is within a given time cycle. And we have many, many time cycles. Our most common one is a 16-beat cycle. So in Kathak, it's almost like you're halving your body. As you saw, I'm very grounded from my feet. So a principle in all Indian classical dance is connecting, and all dance actually, the mind, body, and your spirit, right? And to believe in all the Indian classical dance forms, when all of that is connected, you are realizing your higher self. And what does that sound like? Can anyone tell me what that might sound like? The connection of your mind, body, and your spirit. What other practice has that, aside from Indian classical dance? What do you girls think of when you think of that connection of the mind, body, and spirit?
I would say yoga.
Yes, so yoga. So yoga, again, it's from India. When Indian classical dance evolved, there still is a very strong connection of realizing your higher self. And that is something that's in the philosophy of Indian classical dance and practiced in yoga. So that's just a little bit about the framework of Indian classical dance. And that is one of the main goals of all Indian classical dancers, is realizing your higher self. Now, to talk about Diwali and what is Diwali. So there are a few components to Diwali that is what makes it very significant. And as we mentioned, it is also considered the Festival of Lights. Why don't you guys share with me? What do you think? Why is it called the Festival of Lights? Just speak up so they can hear you.
It's to represent light over darkness.
Excellent. So to represent light over darkness. Great. Anything else?
I think also goodness over evil.
Yeah, it is the triumph over evil. Goodness over evil.
And wisdom over ignorance.
Exactly. So wisdom over ignorance. And in Hindu mythology, we celebrate Diwali with two gods. And do you guys know what that is? The two gods are?
Ganesh and Ram.
Ram, yes, but we welcome these two gods. So no, so Ganesh, who is he brings good fortune, and he is the god of knowledge or wisdom. Lakshmi, there you go. I like that teamwork over there. So Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. So, we celebrate Diwali in many, many ways in the diaspora. There are certain things that I think are very common that people do, and some things that are not. So Diwali can always be a very special way of celebration. You can have something that you do with your family that nobody else does. But some of the very common traits that we do see in Diwali are, do you guys want to mention, how do you celebrate Diwali?
My family puts lanterns around every room of the house, and then
Yes. Hold that thought. So these are some lanterns, or these clay diyas that my kids actually made. And Rachel, I think they made these at Asia Society. So we have lots of these from Diwali celebrations. So these are little clay pots that are made, and we put a candle and we light our house. Yes. What else? What are some other things that you do for Diwali?
My family always, on the day of Diwali, we make a rangoli with colors.
Yes.
To decorate the house.
So rangoli it's powder, right? We have a few at home, and they're these beautiful colors, and we have, I think, 3 or 4 at home, and we make it outside of our house, and you can make these really intricate, beautiful designs. Anything else?
We also, in India actually, we do fireworks and firecrackers.
Yep. Yeah, so I remember as a child also celebrating in the evenings we light up these fireworks. Doesn't happen here, but it's a really nice way for kids to celebrate. Also, during Diwali, families get together, family and friends get together. Food is a big thing, sweets, desserts. And sometimes new things. People like to buy things. Starting, it's considered a period of renewal. And also I'd like to mention that Diwali generally marks the end of the harvest season. So it's always falls during this time, in this country during autumn, so ending of October, early November. So these are some of the intentions of Diwali and how people practice it all over the diaspora. So I wanted to first do a kind of a creative movement exploration with everyone, using some of the concepts of Indian classical dance and specifically Kathak. So either you can follow some of these girls or you can make your own dance. And the concept is very broad. It's this idea of combating darkness and going into light. Okay, so that can have so many different meanings. What does darkness mean, right? And what we're going to explore is, what does that feel in your body? So the way that I think of darkness might not be the same as the way that you think about it. But what I want you to go to and find a place where it feels maybe unhappy, or something that needs to be kind of opened up or revealed, or maybe a sadness or a shrinking, right? So what do you think when I say, what is it that you feel in your bodies when I say darkness? Concealed, okay, very good. Give me another word.
Very closed off.
Closed off, okay. So we're gonna use some of these adjectives and we're gonna start kind of feeling. So I want everyone to come on up and we're just gonna do some kind of simple stretches. We're first gonna take our hands out and just rotate them. So in my form, Kathak, the form that I practice, we have lots of beautiful, isolated hand movements, right? So very different from what we see in Bharatanatyam, where the lines are much more linear. Kathak is a form that really shows this curved forms and circular. And what I would also like to add, and I think it's a very important point in the form, is that Kathak is not just a Hindu art form. It is just as much, it shares Islamic aesthetics, and it shares Islamic culture and Islamic thought. So it is the only form in India that is what we call a hybrid form. And so even if you look at the way our balancing, our stance in Kathak, it's quite different, right? Because it equally shares Islamic aesthetics and Hindu aesthetics. And so if you see also the way that we use our hands and our feet is very different. All forms have a lot of footwork, but each also has a very distinct vocabulary. So let's go back to rotating our wrist. And I have my students practice it. So I'm turning the other way. Yep. And then take your hands out and just turn the wrist. Good. Now I want you all to take a deep breath. Bend those knees and lift up, and back. And now what we're going to do is, just because I want you to have this feeling of expanding and contracting. So we're going to breathe in, deep breath, and open yourself really wide, and then open up your legs, and then close in. Feel this feeling of being concealed or hidden. And again, open up your frame, and close. And now when we're doing this, think about different shapes. And again, open up really wide, and then close. And try to create different shapes. Good, and just shake it all out. So we are going to work in our choreography. If you don't know what choreography means, it's making dance. So you are all choreographers. You are going to make your own dances. We're going to think about the concept of levels, right? So we have a level, low, middle, and high. Okay, and we're going to think about shapes. We're going to be creating different shapes. So tell me, how would you create, think about it, there's no right or wrong, how would you create a triangle? So graceful. See, I would have just done this. Very nice. Circle. So you can see these guys have been trained for a while. Good. And what about square?
I would do something like this.
Okay, so I want you guys to be exploratory with your movement. Think about what makes sense to you, what works in your choreography. It could be anything. A square could be like this. It could be something like this, or it could be kind of a changing square. You can also use your legs, right? So I want you to think outside of the box and be really exploratory with your bodies. So first, we are going to start thinking about maybe a feeling of shrinking. Adjectives are good in choreography. So thinking about shrinking in your body and concealed and hidden, right? So the first place, let's create a shape. Go ahead, guys. I'll also join you. While you're creating this hidden, concealed, shrinking, I want one hand up and then the other down. So come onto the floor, create a shape, and while we create our first movement, I want some kind of a circular pattern. I don't care if it's maybe a circle, the whole circle of your body, or maybe if it's side to side. And we're going to do this, and then you're going to hold. And now we're going to create another shape. Remember, this is a shape of kind of maybe shrinking or concealing. And then again, I want a circular pattern. And now, whatever your legs are, shift it for your last shape. And hold. Now from here, it's going to be this feeling of change, a feeling of maybe rising, of a promise of something different. So what I want first is for everyone to go all the way to the floor, and feel with your hands. And why with your hands is because, again, in Kathak, we use our hands. So you can do whatever you want, crisscross, but something coming up. And we're going to do this 3 times and in different places. So I'm crossing 1, 2, 3, and one more. And 1, 2, 3. Now from here, we're going to actually come on up. So come on up, 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 up. And I want a circular shape now. Create a circular shape. Good. And now from here, this is where we are going to remove those obstacles. Kind of like what Ganesh does, right? Ganesh is supposedly removing those obstacles. So that's what we are going to do. So what could that be? For me, it's kind of like moving those cobwebs, thinking about Halloween, moving those cobwebs. So we're going to do it 3 times, and then I want you to run into another space. So let's go. Think about moving those cobwebs, moving, going through, getting rid of those obstacles, and then run through another space. Run, and go, and move, and remove, and go. Go to another spot. Go, move, get rid of those obstacles. Open up the door. Open up, reveal. Yes, use those knees. Yes, and now discover that lightness. So again, lightness can be many things. For me, I feel it's about discovery and starting anew, right? So what does that look like to you guys? How would you do that? Would it be open in your bodies? Show me. What would that look like?
I think if you were opening something up, I think you would start from low and bring it up to like the high level.
Nice, nice. So your final movement is going to be something of that. So I think what Manu just said is showing one movement that shows this idea of going from darkness into lightness. So show me that one movement. Good. So let me see it again. Start from darkness. Where is your concealed? What is concealed for you guys? Yeah? Yeah. And it does not have to look like anyone. It should be your own. Show me that in your body. Hold it. And let's go. And nice. And good. And just because in Kathak there are so many terms, right? I want you all to explore these ideas of terms, right? So we have a technique behind those terms, but for everyone, and for our purpose right now, I just want you guys to turn. So we take 3 turns, and we're gonna make a pose. Okay, ready? 1, 2, go. And 1, 2, 3, and pose. Nice. Okay, so can we walk through that from the beginning? So where did we start? Where do we start? Down, right? So we have 3 levels, low, middle, and up here. Okay, so show me the concealed pose. Hold it, and I want something circular. Create that circle. Create the circle first in your body. So move the body. Yeah. Duan, you want to move your body in a circular. Yes. Good. Good. Now, another shape. Change your hands. Good. And circle. Change that circle. Nice. And one more. Change the shape. Change the shape. And the circular. Yes. Now slowly show me a rising. Come all the way down first, all the way to the ground. All the way to the ground. Even further. All the way. Get your body all the way to the ground. Yes. Now slowly lift up with your hands. Use those hands. Isolations in your hands. Lift up. Feel those hand movements. Lifting up. Rising. Yes. And now make a circular pose. Good. And now it's going to be the removing of the obstacles. Go through that. Go through it. Yeah, use your space, guys. Don't feel shy. Come on, go through it. And now run to another space. Go, 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 go. And remove those obstacles. Remove. Are you guys now looking upwards or downwards? And one more time, run, go, discover your space. And go. Remove, and you can change it up. And lastly, I want to see 3 turns. 3 turns. 1, 2, 3, and a final pose. So sorry, that final pose, I want you to go again from the darkness to the lightness. For your final pose, go down and up. Okay, great. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put some music with us. So you can also do this with us. Right? All right, let's try this. So first, show me your first pose. On the floor. Hold your pose. And circle. This is your first circle. Hold. Second circle. Somewhere else. Circle. Different kind of circle. Change your legs. Change your legs. Last circle. All the way down. Now slowly lift. Feel like there's a palm. Use your hands. Connect to your hands. Very nice. Great, guys. Okay. So this is somehow ways that we explore our movement to tell stories, right? We can use our hands, our facial expressions, our bodies, and we bring it all together. And something that's also very different from Western thought is that we believe in any classical dance that our face is the most expressive part of our bodies. And we use it. We use it to tell our stories. So now what I want to do with you is I want to do a small dance for you, and it is based on what we just talked a little bit about, Ganesh. So again, who is Ganesh? Why do we celebrate Ganesh during Diwali? I think we already mentioned it, but someone said it. Somebody?
Ganesh symbolizes wisdom, so we celebrate Ganesh during the Diwali to show wisdom over ignorance.
Exactly. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how we do our hands to show Ganesh, right? So just watch and try to guess what are the different parts that I'm showing. So if you don't know, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, Ganesh is also known as the elephant god, right? And his father is Shiva and his mother is Parvati. And so his story goes that it's a long story, but that Shiva, by mistake, cut off his son's head, not knowing that it's his son. This is an abbreviated story. And then Parvati, his mom, was so upset, and she's like, go find another head for my son. And so the first thing he saw was an elephant. And so he took the elephant's head and put it on his son. And that's a story of Ganesh, but very, very abbreviated. So I am first going to show, and you guys can do this with me. What do you all think this is? So if you think of an elephant, what could this be? It is ears. It is Ganesh's ears, big and floppy, right? And now what do you think this is? So this is the trunk. This is the trunk of Ganesh. And here we are showing Ganesh's really, really large body, right? And lastly, these are his tusks. And what do you think I'm doing here? This is the way an elephant would walk. And of course, there are many different kinds of gaits that you can show, but generally an elephant is pretty heavy, very large animal, right? And they have these beautiful ways of walking. And you guys can also play around with this. So quickly, we are going to share with you how to do each movement, right? So first, let's start with our feet. Well, you know what? Actually, let's first, I'm going to do the dance so you can see what it looks like. And then these girls and I will kind of teach you how to do the Ganesh. So let me just get the music. So that was a invocation to Lord Ganesh. So we are hoping to show you how we use Ganesh, right? So Diwali, show me how the first movement we do.
So the first movement shows Ganesha's ears. So you go like that, and we bring our hands out, and then we bring them back.
Good. So again, do the isolations. You see how soft we keep our hands. Did you see? It's this kind of emotion. Yes. Go ahead. And what do we do with our feet?
So you bring them front, and then you bring them back.
Okay, so let's all try that. So for right now, let's take right foot forward and forward. Back, forward, and back. Okay, now what is next?
The next part is for showing his trunk. So we make kind of a fist with our right hand, and we move it along with our body.
Lovely. So when Ingo is doing this, she used which one? Right hand. So she used her right hand, right? She made a fist with it. And again, the same idea. This is why we warmed up our wrist. We are using the wrist to create kind of a shape of the trunk. And now again, you can, every elephant has a different trunk, right? This is something that you can play with. Maybe you can look at pictures of elephants and see what the trunk looks like, right? And I'm sure some trunks are longer and shorter and wider and skinnier. Another thing that's really important are these things called the knees, right? So you have to go down in those knees, scoop up, come on around, and then hold the pose, right? So shapes in choreography are really important, right? So the first shape and pose we made is here. And now the second one, after we go down on our knees, is here. Do you see that? Do you see the bending of the body, the bending of the knee? Great. And next.
The next you show his big belly, which is because he loves to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So you take your hands from the back, and then you kind of tie a little knot in there.
Nice. Great. So again, Ganesh is huge. He is big. So we show a really big body, right? But if you're not showing Ganesh, and if you're showing an elephant, your elephant might not be that large. So it's really, again, it's up to you. But for now, because we are showing Ganesh, we're going to show a large body, huge. And hold. And then Ganesh does wear the string around him. So we're going to create that string and make a knot. Okay, so let's all do that again. Go ahead. Very good. Now, lastly, why don't you, go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay, so the last one we're going to show his tusks. So we're going to take our two index fingers and we're going to plunge down and then back up.
Nice. So again, knees, right? Hands out here and scoop down. Scoop. Right? So what is this kind of thing we're doing with our body? Kind of like this undulation with our back. Do you see that? You can even do it with your hands. Up. Try that and up. Yeah. So let's try this and go. Down and up. Got to do one more time. Nice. Now the last thing is how we walk. So in Kathak we show lots of beautiful gaits. That means different kinds of walk. So that. Or we have, you guys can also do the same. Hey, hey. Or we have walks like this, slower, over, and over, sinking in. So again, this is now kind of like the elephant, right? So the idea is shifting the weight from one leg to another. So let's try that together. Put all of the weight into your left foot. Lift up that right, place it down. All of that weight into the right. Let's sink in like an elephant, really heavy. And then lift up and over. Feel the weight of it. Let your body go down. Feel that groundedness, that heaviness, and then lift up again. Over. And again, feel that weightiness. And up and over. Okay? So let's try that with our tusks. And let's go. Over. Release. Lift up and over. Keep those tusks. And over. Yes. Okay, great. So now we're going to put it all together. We have the ears. And we're swaying back and forth. We've got the trunk. We are using those knees. Huge body. Tie the rope, the string Good toss. Scoop down. Undulate that body. And go from one side to the other side. Feel the weightiness. Shift and shift. Okay, so let's try that. Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8, and ears. Go back and forth. And make a pose. Trunk. Make a pose. Very nice. Tuss. Undulate that body. Feel it in your spine. Good. And over from one side to the other. Feel that weightiness. Feel like you're grounded and heavy. Over. There you go. Make a pose. Good. Very nice. Thank you so much. So there you go. Celebrating Diwali with Kathak and just movement exploration. Thank you guys for being here. It has been such a pleasure to celebrate Diwali with you and talk to you a little bit about Kathak and how we can explore movement.
Carol, can I ask you a couple questions?
Of course, of course.
This was just wonderful, and I could really feel the weight and the heaviness of Ganesh.
Yes.
But in the dance form, in Kathak, I think that there are some times where the dance doesn't have a story or a meaning, and there are some times where it's really about storytelling. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the difference.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to begin by saying that in all Indian classical dance, we have two aspects. Abhinaya, which is facial expressions, and the narrative. And then we have the technique, which is devoid of any story. So that split we see in all Indian classical dance. It's more prevalent and pronounced in Kathak because of this shared history. So there was a time when I had said that, there's an Islamic influence to this form. It's not just an influence, it's grounded it is within the form. It is the creator of the form. And, during the period of the Mughals, it's believed and it's suggested that was a time when Kathak really flourished in its technique. But because there were these two religions at play, they did not focus on the religious aspect of the form. They focused more on the aesthetics, refining the forms, the technique, right? And because of that, in Kathak, I would say, in our repertoire, we have more vocabulary that does not have a specific narrative. We do have all the mythological stories, just like what I have done, but we also have a lot of repertoire, right? That is kind of more about the spirituality, right? There is also suggested that there's a strong Sufi influence in Kathak, right? So again, it's more about this connection of your mind, body, and spirit. And
I'm sorry, what is Sufi?
So Sufi is so don't quote me on this, but Sufism is a sect of Islam, right? From my understanding. And in Sufism, there's also the celebration of music and dance. And it's believed also that you can reach that higher level through this transcendental kind of state, right? So maybe some of you have heard of the whirling dervishes. So again, it is suggested. So the whirling dervishes have these turns, these amazing turns, and a part of their practice is they turn for hours on end, and they create these concentric circles. And one hand is up, and the other one I think is on your heart. But it is suggested that in Kathak that our turns that we do, right? Do you want to demonstrate some of our turns? You see the ones. So in Kathak, our turns are definitely different. They're a lot faster than what we see in the whirling dervishes, but it is suggested that the turns are coming from Sufism. So going back, Kathak is sometimes considered to be an amalgamation of many forms, also some folkloric forms of Rajasthani. It is not just a Hindu art form. And I think it's really important to take note.
I mean, what is interesting is the idea that the spirituality is not limited to one religion or another, but that it's about the idea that you can use your dance to communicate both to human beings and, depending on your own beliefs,
Yeah.
to a different kind of divinity.
Absolutely. And I do think, movement in itself carries that, right?
Yeah.
Movement is this connection of the mind and body and your spirit. I think the difference is that in Indian classical dance, it's really talked about, and it's embedded in the philosophy of the dance form. But I think any dance form has that connection, right? I think that is what feels so enriching, right? That's an experience that you really cannot put language to. And that's what makes movement and dance so beautiful.
Dance is very powerful, I agree. And it's very powerful in many cultures.
Yes.
Whether we're talking about Mali in West Africa, or we're talking about tap dance, or we're talking about Balinese dance. Many forms use that, and it's a way of bringing people together and also, showing something else.
Yeah.
I have two more questions for you. One is, how did you decide to start studying Kathak, and where?
Interesting question. I think this will be interesting for them because, so I am a first generation.
What does that mean?
So I was born and raised in the United States, and my parents are from India. So I love dance. I loved dance since I was a child, and my parents put me in lots of different types of dancing when I was a child. I did a lot of creative movements, and then I actually studied Bharatanatyam, the South Indian form, and then I saw this performance of Kathak, and she had this beautiful dress, like mine, but much more elaborate, and she did all these wonderful turns, and I was like, this is what I want to study. So the journey began then, and never did I think I was to become a professional dancer. I did my undergrad in political science. I thought I would go into international relations or law, but then I'm like, this is something that's really unique. This is something that I can offer. I can contribute to this society. I think, because again, what we're talking about, dance is culture. Right. And I think that we need to spread more knowledge about various cultures, not just Indian culture, but various cultures, because it connects people. It allows to find bridges. And that is so important, especially today. We need those connections. We need those bridges. And so I then did my master's in dance, and because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed to of other forms of dance and just pedagogy, and now I'm actually doing my doctoral studies in dance and education and cultural studies. But yeah, so the journey began, it was something that I really loved. I started training in my teens in India, and then throughout, once I graduated high school, I kept going back to India and spending years there. And I am so fortunate to have this amazing guru, Padma Bhushan Kumudini Lakhia, who has been so supportive, and I've invited her here so many times, and I've toured with her in Europe and in India, and she's an amazing woman, and she's just a great person to have as my mentor. She has allowed me to see dance, not just, and this is what I kind of tell them too, is that dance does not just belong in the four walls that you learn. It's not just about the classroom, it's life, right? And the way that you can, and it's really important that you make that the dance is relevant to you and to your being and to your identity, because it's not just something that was, that's passing down from 1,000 years, but you need to make it that it's accessible to you, it makes sense to you, and is an expression of who you are. And so she was very supportive of that. She's also a pioneer of doing new things with the Kathak repertoire. And when she first started that in the 60s and the 70s, she got, there were really bad reviews. Now everyone's kind of following her footsteps. She was just she's a maverick, way before her time. So I'm very fortunate to have her. And she's always been very supportive of all of the work that I do that steps out of the parameters of Kathak. But, I feel like it was really important if I wanted to make this my career, that this just needed to expand and really be something about how I can share, my thoughts, the issues that I'm concerned about, and what the beautiful thing about all arts is that it gives you that empathetic lens, right? Reading the newspaper, seeing the news, it doesn't give you that, but the arts does, right? And that is so powerful because I think when that happens, when you create empathy between people, that's where change can really happen.
So my final question is, you are a dance maker. You are someone who communicates through movement, and you have a particular form that you have really dedicated yourself. So it becomes another language. But you are also an American dancer. And you are interpreting this for the current time, the times we live in, which have been pretty difficult in some ways, after COVID and staying inside, and the fact that this form has allowed you to say some different things that are specific to your own background. So I want you to talk about, for a minute, you as a dancer, an American dancer who is using this form to communicate, rooted to where you are now.
That's a great question, and these are things I am thinking about as I go towards a dissertation. And so it is, it places me, it locates me in a very interesting location in the United States, and how being in the diaspora and my voice as a South Asian.
For some people may not know that word diaspora. Could you just?
Yeah, diaspora is, so the practice of Kathak it originates from India, but that I'm practicing it over here. So just like, as I said, in Diwali is from India, but it is being celebrated in the doors.
So in other words, there are many people who have come to this particular land.
Yes.
Which I didn't say, this is the Lenape, the land of the unceded Lenape. So many of the people that now live in the United States have roots that are elsewhere originally, but now those roots are here. Right. So the diaspora has to do with people who come maybe generations ago from other places, and now have connections that are both here and elsewhere.
Yeah. So yeah, I should also say that I am inhabiting the land of the Lenape in Montclair, New Jersey. So yeah, going back to your question, it is definitely something that I think is seeked in my work. And as you know, Rachel, my work definitely steps out of the parameters of Kathak. I don't necessarily want to call it contemporary, because I think that is a very weighty term. And unfortunately, even I have been told that, oh, you must be trained in a non-Indian form because, well, it just, the way you move, it doesn't look like, it looks like it's contemporary, right? And when they say contemporary, they mean that it must be influenced by ballet or modern dance. And so anyway, it just has a lot of issues that were contemporary. But what I am doing is, it's my identity, whether I am in India or in New Zealand or in America. I'm living in 2021, right? And so the way that I am going to represent an Indian woman, a South Asian American woman, is not going to be the same woman who's carrying a pot on her head and going to the river, right? Because I'm just not doing that, right? And also there are a lot more liberties that I have. And then there are also things within, South Asian culture that I fight against, right? That I am trying to shift, that I'm trying to create awareness. There are many, many inequities that exist. And it's also, there's a long history in Indian classical dance that it's a patriarchal system. There's a hierarchy, there's casteism. So all of these things, as a practicing artist of that form, that I continue to combat in a sense, right? For it to make my sense. Having said that, I love the dance form, right? And that is why I do it, because I do feel it allows me to grow as a human being. And I do think, again, it's those philosophies that are embedded with the forms. So there's constantly this battle of the two, right? And finding that balance. But I do think that would happen anywhere in the world, right? The stories might be slightly different, being what are the politics, right? What's happening in your place, and what is your experience, right? Two South Asian Americans will have completely different experiences, right? We're not the same just because we're South Asian American. And I think that's the battle that we're having right now, right? Like, don't pigeonhole us. We're not the same. We're all very different. Just like Bharatanatyam and Kathak, not the same. They're Indian classical dances, but so different. And I do hope that the audience today was able to see that as well.
Well, that was beautiful. And I think the very fact that Diwali is about letting the light in, and letting the light in means letting curiosity in and learning to meet each other and move like each other and maybe play rhythms together. So I appreciate you and all four of you for your generosity. Thank you for sharing this with us. We will have this available for people to keep practicing. But I think there are there places where if kids wanted to study Kathak, they could study here in at least in New York or New Jersey?
Absolutely. So I teach both in New York and New Jersey. They can just look up the Parl Shah Dance Company on Instagram and Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. I think we're almost ready for Diwali. And we're really looking forward to seeing your next performance, and hopefully we'll all be in person next time.
That would be wonderful. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
And happy Diwali to all of you who have joined us. We will have the videotapes up online probably in the next couple days. And I hope that if you didn't get a chance to share it with more widely with your friends who would be interested, you'll have a chance. So go out, celebrate, sing your bowls, the rhythms of India, get your tusks out,